Pause when you sense the escalation of rage or insecurity. Calm down. Pay attention to the feeling without giving in to it. Women are tremendously drawn to males who demonstrate fortitude and composure under adversity. More impressive than any outward show of power is a man's ability to maintain composure in the face of chaos. 4. You prefer to speak than to do. A lion will be a lion regardless of how you tell it. However, far too many men make the mistake of boasting about their abilities, goals, and aspirations without actually demonstrating their value. This is immediately noticeable to women. All the grand claims, audacious declarations, and never-ending plans for the future are empty words in their ears. Because of what reasons does this indicate vulnerability? Because insecurity masquerading as conversation is fear. It's an effort to win approval through public demonstrations of emotion rather than actual accomplishments. Someone who talks a lot but does little shows that he isn't confident in himself. He's attempting to persuade himself and others of his abilities. The want to control how other people perceive you, or impression management, is the psychological basis for this conduct. Now consider the paradox. Talking about your plans all the time will make you look less impressive. Words have no value. Rare is the action. Men who quietly accomplish what they say they will do earn women's respect. A man who isn't disciplined and doesn't follow through is someone a woman can tell when she hears him constantly boasting about his future achievements. His trade is not construction. He's a dreamer who gets mired in daydreams. You may be slipping into this trap if you are always bragging about your ambitions, but fail to actually do anything to achieve them. To make yourself look better, you inflate your accomplishments. You commit to something you can't or won't follow through on. A guy loses credibility and becomes predictable when he talks more than he does. Those who are quiet, who surprise people with their achievements rather than their empty claims, are the ones that women are naturally drawn to. 5th, you always put the blame on other people. You might as well put a neon sign reading, "I'm weak," on a man's body if he dodges responsibility for his own life. Playing the victim and blaming others or circumstances for one's problems is a certain way to turn women off. A weak ego that can't cope with setbacks is the root cause of this behavior. Passing the buck is a way to protect oneself. It protects you from having to face the truth that you are usually the one to blame when things go wrong. However, there is a catch. You give up control over your life when you refuse to accept responsibility for your actions. Naturally, women are aware of this. A man who always places the blame on others is a man who will never mature in their view. He's the type to mope about, never getting up to tackle problems when they arise. Having a perspective like this reveals a lack of maturity, emotional intelligence, resilience, and strength. How is this shown in the here and now? You gripe about your employer, workplace, and colleagues without doing anything to advance your career. You refuse to take responsibility for your actions in previous relationships, instead placing the blame on your ex. You refuse to accept responsibility for your actions, instead attributing your failures to pure chance. Accountability is a show of strength, and women are attracted to guys who are willing to admit when they're wrong. The ability to persevere through difficult times and emerge stronger is a sign of bravery. On the flip side, a man who shirks duty eventually becomes uninteresting, unproductive, and trapped. 6. You have a hard time declining. Women can tell the difference between a man with limits and one who is unable to say no. Being accommodating may win them approval in the short term, but in the long run, it reveals a more serious issue, a lack of dignity. Saying yes to every single request shows a lack of generosity and kindness. You're not showing any courage. You go to extreme lengths to win over others and stay out of trouble as a people pleaser. And now we come to the ugly reality. Nobody respects a weakling who can't defend himself, and that includes women. Fear of rejection, Disappointing other people or confrontation is a common root cause of an unwillingness to say no. However, a vicious cycle is created by this continual cooperation. People will start to expect you to do things you're not enthusiastic about when you repeatedly say yes to them. As time goes on, you start to let other people dictate your every move instead of taking charge of your own life. How is this vulnerability manifested? Even when you're too tired or bored to care, you still say yes to social invitations or favors. Without protest, you allow other people to take advantage of you. If you don't want to come across as ungrateful or impolite, you will avoid saying no. A man who isn't afraid to say no when asked too much demonstrates self-respect, confidence, and strength, qualities that women admire in a man. If you lack these traits, others will see you as weak and gullible, which will cause your charm to swiftly fade. 7. Your life is aimless. Lack of purpose in life is perhaps the strongest indicator of a man's frailty. Men who lead their lives with purpose, who are passionate about something, or who have a mission in life, tend to attract more women. On the other hand, a guy without a goal in life becomes indistinguishable from any other lost traveler. A life with purpose isn't about accolades, fortune, or status. Motivation comes from knowing what you want out of life, whether that's a specific objective, a deep-seated desire, or a code of ethics that you live by. In its absence, the pursuit of trivial and pointless activities fills life with emptiness. These are some of the ways a man who is aimless acts. He vegs out in front of the TV or on social media for hours on end, never getting anything done. Without a defined goal or plan for his future, he aimlessly bounces from job to job. He puts short-term gratification, in the form of parties, pointless hookups, or material goods, above sustained personal development. Your lack of direction comes across to women in everything you do, say, and even how you hold yourself. It shows that you aren't willing to move forward or try new things. On the flip side, a man's character transforms when he has a purpose. His presence is hypnotic. He exudes self-assurance in both his movements and his speech. Since he finds contentment in himself, he has no need to seek approval from others. Attraction goes beyond physical attractiveness and charisma. The essence of your being is at stake, and that force is built upon purpose. In its absence, you fade into oblivion. With it, your impact is magnified. That concludes it. Here are 7 ways women might detect your vulnerabilities, sometimes before you do. Now I'll tell you the truth. To acknowledge these tendencies is not to become fixated on other people's opinions of you, or to manipulate their perceptions of you. Gaining control of one's own life is the central theme. We learn that true strength comes from inside on the Stoic way. The ability to command respect and authority without uttering a word is a byproduct of self-discipline, action-based self-assurance, and a strong sense of mission. You respect yourself, which is the most important thing of all, and women notice it. Please subscribe to Stoic Guide, leave a comment, and like this video if you enjoyed it. We want to see you succeed in life by guiding you toward knowledge, fortitude, and direction. Hang in there, be self-controlled, and I'll see you when we meet again. Would you believe me if I said that women can detect a man's vulnerability long before he utters a word? Rather than wearing it on your sleeve, it manifests itself in your tone of voice, posture, and overall demeanor. Women have an uncanny knack for picking up on these signals, whereas most males are blissfully unaware of them. This is all about psychology, not merely gut feelings. Rather than aiming for physical domination, evolution hardwired women to value emotional power, leadership, and confidence. For her, the absence of these traits in a man is like a subtle warning sign. However, let me explain. Disadvantages aren't as bad as you imagine. Making mistakes or failing is not the point. That is a natural aspect of maturation. Your incapacity to deal with hardship, your fixation on being validated, and your emotional instability constitute your true weaknesses. We Stoics believe that inner power is the source of all strength. Being in control of your own ideas, feelings, and behaviors is more important than displaying machismo on the outside. These are 7 subtle ways that women can tell you're weak, and you might not even be aware that you're doing it. Find these habits, get rid of them, and see how people react differently when you're around. 1. Your need for approval is always there. Seeking validation from others is a clear indication of a man's frailty. If a woman senses that your self-esteem is dependent on her approval, she will quickly tire of you. When people's views about you, rather than your own personal values, determine how much you're worth, psychologists refer to this as an external locus of control. Some men are like empty vessels. They can't be filled until someone else does. The result is a constant state of flux in which you feel pressure to perform and prove yourself. When will this be visible? You seek out praise. In your opinion, was I successful? To avoid disagreement, you adjust your opinions to align with hers. Looking for a response to a text or a like on social media makes you feel frantic. Seek not the good in external things. Seek it within yourselves. Epictetus stated, "Put an end to seeking validation from others. It is more effective to create your own measures of success." Do you know whether you acted in accordance with your principles today? Have I been forthright and courageous? You won't need any cheers if you answered yes. Men who are secure in themselves and don't require continual affirmation tend to attract more women. You may exude confidence even when you don't speak a word if you learn to validate yourself. 2. Disavoid confrontations if you can help it. Frail men avoid confrontations. They assume that if they say yes to everything, others will find them more beautiful. But in reality, they are just agreeable. However, women are able to see through this and no longer hold it in high regard. Submissive communication refers to the psychological practice of repressing one's own demands in order to maintain harmony in a conversation. Resentment builds up over time, on both your end and the opposing side, as people can see through your lack of resolve. When will this be visible? In an effort to keep things amicable, you agree with people whose views you disagree with. Even when you're completely innocent, you find a way to apologize excessively. Whenever someone challenges you, you quickly retreat. The purpose of life is not to conform to the will of the majority, but to avoid becoming one of the insane, says Marcus Aurelius. Avoiding disagreement is not the mark of a Stoic person. Things entails doing things sensibly and coolly when called upon. Learn to speak with confidence. Make your point politely and without becoming aggressive. Standing firm with dignity is a quality that women admire in guys. Dominance isn't the essence of strength. Without letting fear dictate your choice, you must know when to speak and when to remain silent. Thirdly, your emotions are beyond your control. An emotionally capsized man is like a ship at sea. When it comes to emotional instability, women have a keen perception. Having trouble controlling one's emotions, whether it's rage, envy, or insecurity, is a surefire way to come across as weak. Inadequate self-awareness and coping skills are common causes of emotional instability. Your ego or fear causes you to respond impulsively rather than carefully considering your emotions. When will this be visible? When you're chastised, you get defensive. A small annoyance causes you to overreact. When she chats to other men, you can't help but feel envious. The unwavering answer. We endure greater mental anguish than physical pain, Seneca remarked. To get control of your emotions, you must first realize that they are not facts. As a result of outside forces, they are only a transitory response. Stay present and take stock of your thoughts.